Welcome to Rewriting Real Estate, Millionaire Moves and Modern Tactics with your host, Kimberly Falker, a coach, mentor and strategist for agents who are ready to scale smarter. On this show, you'll learn from high-performing agents who are building their empires with innovation, intention and no apologies. Whether you're an experienced agent stuck at a plateau or a rising star ready to fast-track your success, this podcast gives you the real-world tactics, mindset shifts, and lessons learned from those rewriting the rules.
Today, I'm so excited to welcome Darren Langille. He is out of Calgary, Canada, and he is a speaker, a coach, a team leader, and he is actually the founder and the head of one of Calgary's biggest brokerage team. So let's get started with Darren. And the reason that I wanted to have you on is because I know you're the master of systems and leadership, which is, the podcast is pulling in agents that are rewriting real estate in unique ways. And while yours might feel more traditional, it really isn't, because you have a unique way of being a leader and attracting or bringing agents to a different level of success. So anyway, but
to help as any way I can.
Before that, though, nobody typically goes into life. So Darren, typically people don't start off as a realtor. Some nowadays do at 18, but I know you've been in the business for a bit. So who were you before real estate?
Oof, who was I? Who am I now? I'm nothing. But I was an engineer. I was a mechanical engineer. I went to school, and I was only about a year out of it from school when I decided that real estate was going to be part of my journey, but it was mostly focused on investment property purchases. So I partnered up with my business partner, who's sitting behind me here in the other office, and we started buying properties. But we got our license because we didn't trust realtors to look at the numbers the way an engineer would. So we bought our license, got our license, made a few bucks on commission.
And he's an engineer as well?
He is, yeah.
Okay. Did you guys meet in school?
We go back to grade 7.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah, so we were at the same company, but 8 hours apart. And we stayed connected, and then I convinced them to do real estate with me, basically. And that was it. So that got us. But then 3 years into it, we were making enough in commission dollars because friends were like reaching out because they saw, okay, wait, Darren's not an engineer. Wait, can you help me with my house? And we started saying yes. And all of a sudden, we're realtors when that was not the plan. It was actually to live.
Back then, I'm not trying to be judgy, but like back then it wasn't the cool thing. Like nowadays I feel like being a realtor's become quite cool, but back I've got a law background, and when I wound up going into real estate, I got a little pushback from friends saying, why are you stooping down to real estate? Which really and truly it's crazy, especially like mechanical engineer. That wasn't an easy degree to get.
Good point. So we're in an oil and gas town, right? Calgary, Alberta is heavy oil and gas driven. Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. Like we would wear we engineers in Canada have a pinky ring, which is like an engineer's ring, and it means something. And in Calgary, if you're walking around and you have a ring on you, they know you're an engineer. And then that provides street credit in Calgary's corporate oil and gas world. You know? But then we would quickly default to saying, oh, I'm an engineer, so that we would get some credibility. Because, realtors are not high on the totem pole.
I used to be a lawyer, but now I went into real estate. I would never use the word realtor because I felt that was demeaning. I'd say I'm in real estate.
Well, I think we're like just above a used car salesman still in the cool factor, right?
No.
Guys like Sirhan and those shows and stuff are helping us. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's the flip side for all we know.
Yeah. So anyway, so you wound up getting fully licensed and then going into actual production and sales then.
Yeah, by 2008, I actually was going through a divorce. I was 3 years with my license, and we were making a few bucks. And I said, if the rest of the world and in my world is crumbling, I might as well take this leap because we had a bit of momentum. And thankfully, it was a blessing to say, cut ties, get the license, help out my business partner, and off we went. So that was like us jumping in. We had a bit of revenue coming, but certainly not what I was making as an engineer at that point.
Was that hard though? Again, like going into the ego side of things, was it hard as a male, especially to go that
Yeah.
route back in those days? I know because I was licensed in '04 and it wasn't the cool thing. I think it's become
Yeah,
pretty a cool thing to
it's a
do,
good point.
but
If you think, I was a kid, I went to university, I made the junior national team for volleyball. I was successful, fairly smart, athletic in that crowd in school. So it was like, in '08, when you're going through a divorce before most of your friends are even hitched up for the first place,
right.
jumping out of a professional degree to go into real estate, like the whole world was flipping on my world. And like from an ego perspective, you're right. If I actually had much of one, it would have really been difficult. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Yeah.
what the hell is Darren up to?
Especially if you look at like, as fortunately my mom was in real estate. Like you go through all the process to get your university degree and then your legal degree. And I did use it for a few years, but ultimately wound up in real estate. What
Right.
was that all about? It's a lot of work, but I
Yeah.
feel, and you probably feel the same way, that what I learned in both of those degrees has helped me be a better realtor and connect better with people and actually do better and rise to a different level.
Oh yeah, what I learned through school, learning how to learn and all that stuff, being like even my sporting days, I actually probably think my sporting days prepared me better for this job because again, you got to be on, right?
Right.
And it's like the team environment and collaboration, we is bigger than me type concept. So it was all birthed from my team days. Engineers can be quite lonely and behind the scenes, but you're right, it prepares us for something, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So then once you were in real estate, at what point did you start growing a big team? Because I know that you have a very large team there and you're
Yeah.
in Calgary, yeah?
Yeah, so we're in Calgary. There's 8,400 realtors in the Calgary Real Estate Board. Just from a perspective, it's a city of about a 1.5 million. So that's our size. In '08, when I had my sales license, we just Mickey Moused our way through this business. '08, '09, 2010, 2011.
Those were hard years
Early,
anyway.
yeah, early days of Facebook and showcasing this young 25-year-old to 30-year-old, showing off a little bit of investment property, stuff like that was actually, like I said, was what people started to feel trust to use me from a sales side. But then the horseshoe fell out a little bit in early 2013, where I had about a 40 deal year as a solo agent in 2012. And like all of a sudden, we're through busy season here in Calgary. By the end of May, I only had 12 deals put together and nothing in the pipeline. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going from 40 to maybe 12. I was like, that's a huge change, right, Kim? And I sought out help and I sought off a coach. And at that point, I reached out to some local agents that I knew were thriving. And turns out they were coached at that point in the Tom Ferry ecosystem. Had a chance when Tom was small to get on the personal phone call with him to learn about coaching and jumped in and said, finally, I'm going to take this business seriously. And I hadn't done it at that point. It was
true,
all
yeah.
good luck until that point, and doing something half okay got me through. And then, yeah, so it was 2013 in June when I had my first coaching call. And that just changed and opened my ears, opened my mind to, oh my gosh, this is what real estate is actually can be like. And any ecosystem that is larger than your own little silo that you're in, your little like scary
That's
head,
true.
ex-lawyer, ex-engineer trying to Mickey Mouse this business, it gave me a whole new light on this business. And I know you and I share in the same brokerage, so we see that today, right? But in my early world on that was the Tom Ferry ecosystem, which was again multinational. And wow, okay, this business can be
Yeah.
done differently, and it needs intention.
That's true. You're right. And I think that's one thing that's lacking in I've been licensed in more than one state. You're obviously in Canada, but I feel like in real estate, they don't teach the new agent how to start a business, treat it like a business, how to
So
actually build it to be scalable. And instead, we're learning about acreage and riparian rights and things like that that
right.
don't matter. I just, and like you said, like you kind of Mickey Mouse it unless you get some guidance. And that's great that you got a coach.
Yeah, I attribute it to you. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but like doctors come out of doctor school and they get to, they're in, the US is different. Well, like in Canada, like they have a guaranteed job. They get paid for by the government and they're off going. Dentists come out, they're doctors, they get out and they're business owners all of a sudden because
Yeah.
they're having to build a practice. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's a whole new skill set that I never had before. Again, us as realtors, we don't know what we don't know until we realize, oh my gosh, we are everything. Yeah.
Save the taxes, the
Yeah,
marketers, the prospectors, and oftentimes we get so lost on what we're least capable of doing versus what we're the best at is working with people and helping solve their problems. And you get so caught in the quagmire of the marketing, the everything.
Totally.
And we're typically very shiny object. You're obviously a more focused, organized person than the typical realtor, in my opinion.
Maybe that was from the
I jump
engineering
around.
world. Maybe.
That's
right?
what I'm thinking. I think that if I meet a realtor that was an engineer, I think normally they are far more organized in their success than those of us that are throwing spaghetti at the wall all day long.
At the end of the day, I'm still like this under the water, like a duck too. It just may be a little different. But
So-
you're right. So you go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
Just going to say, you talked about we have to be all these different things and we chase these shiny objects. And that the noise that you and I are exposed to about what a realtor should be or how a realtor should grow is insane, right? Because like when you feel a little bit slow, where do you go? You reach out to social, every human, but we are online heavily. And you see all these stories and successes out there and you're like, who am I just going to emulate? Who am I going to play? But you don't look to anything beyond the cloak of the online, like visibility, whatever somebody decided to put out on their 14,000th take and professionally edited message.
And mirrors of the perfect life.
It's just, so we are all, a lot of us are living real estate businesses totally by default, chasing our tails and not running one that has anything to do with what Kim's actual experience should be focus on or their strengths, because we get so distracted. And that noise is only going to keep getting worse.
It is, because you and I were licensed before all the noise. I think about when I first got licensed, it was boots to the ground.
Yep.
You can make your success. I did super fabulous my first in real estate, solely focusing on open houses, and I made that like my focus. That's how I wound up making six figures in my first year, was just open houses. And I've got it down to a science. When I want new business, I do that. But back then it was, you can call people, you can door knock, you can do open houses, you can do postcards. But now it's like so distractingly noisy.
Totally.
With all the different options.
Here's a crazy example. This is fresh off the press for me. So I got a stats program in my market. So I can see every single agent in Alberta, how much production they've done, how many 6 years in a row, their averages, where they're beating the average, where they're losing out, where I can help coach them. And I do this to help coach my agents. And I was looking to connect with some of the top individual sellers, realtors in the province that I didn't know yet. So I pulled up the data, pulled it up, and I went to go try to find them. And lo and behold, 1/3 of that top in the province group of realtors was not findable on Instagram, Facebook, barely on LinkedIn.
That's interesting.
I was
They're
like,
just doing the
these
work.
guys, they're just crushing business in the traditional ways.
Going back
and
to
they're not
04.
heavily dropping in. And I was like, interesting. And some of them are, but none of the highest group have been birthed off of social. None of them. Zero.
That's really interesting. I think about that, like here in the Tampa Bay area, you've got some folks, to your point, they're super high achievers. They're not wasting their time on social media. Maybe it's a waste of time. I don't know.
There's another group too. There's a whole other layer. Say there's 1/3 that are heavily on social, but most of what from that other top group is not that social gained their business. It's social's just a display for what they do every day. And they've just gotten better at displaying it. But again,
Right.
it's not what drove it in. It's more of it's their best online version of themselves to showcase. And then I was like, this is,
And
I
then
mean,
there
I
is a
speak to
third
this
of
a lot.
people that are making, I just had an interview yesterday, and 80% of her 50 deals a year are from TikTok. There is that too. So
Yeah.
you can, it's more to your point, is have an engineer mind and go in one lane for a while before jumping around.
You've heard me talk about avatars, right? I believe there's 5 core realtor avatars that are just like are working today. One of them is the creator, which is that TikToker, which is great at online, and that's their secret weapon. But again, a lot of us attempt to be creators thinking that's what drives the business, but it should be just more of a place to maintain relationships rather than go viral or get massive reach. Not everybody can go viral and get massive reach, right? There's only so much, like, how many singers are there out on their planet that are beautiful singers? Like a zillion. I'm not one of them. But how many make it to the top 100? Like just a fraction, right? So same thing with the creator world, right? And so, I mean, that again, finding who we are, align with that, and go all in. Pretty important, and in my opinion, to get sustainability in this business. And you talk about scaling and systems. You can't scale random stuff that you're not good at. But you can scale alignment to a craft that you're excited to build because it's aligned with your experience, what you love doing. It's much easier to put a system behind it, meaning like a checklist of things I do. But when you don't pick that lane, good luck.
That's true. That's true. When you first started realizing that you were scaling, how did you first begin building out your team and or coaching process? Because you're very good at communication. You're very good at explaining systems or processes far better than most people I've experienced. And when did you know that was a gift of yours, or when did you start scaling to a team that you figured that would be something that you could do?
Yeah, it's a good question. Appreciate the comments though as well. I mean, it's all been a forced learned behavior, that is for sure. Because I am an introvert, an engineer. I've had success, but I can always attribute many of my successes in the past to not be as high as they could have because I didn't stretch myself a little further. I didn't get a little bit more out there. But my first hire was an administrator, a full-time, in my case, $40,000 a year administrator. And it took about 3 months to make that make sense. And what I mean by that is like I'm such a control freak, many of us are. And to get it out of my world into her world so that she can help. And it took 3 months to fully allow it. So I wasn't feel like I was doing the work twice. And that's because I held on to things too long. You know what I mean? I didn't just systemize it, process. And people think systems and SOPs, all these fancy words. But to me, it's a freaking checklist that means A, B, C, D. And you and I all can create a system for everything we do in 5 minutes with a notebook, right? Yet we think system has to be more than that. So that was my first hire, but it was based on supporting my production, making sure, because I was starting to let things go, or I wasn't as good of a realtor as I could have been because volume had crept up. The moment your experience is starting to slack to the client, that's the moment, and you probably need to jump ahead of it, but if you can sense that you're going to slip, that is the time you for sure need to bring folks in, right? And then fight that good fight to bring them to the point of efficiency and support, and just know it's going to feel painful for a while.
And I think a lot of agents have a hard time with it, including myself, because it's okay. It's kind of like when we have kids and they're trying to learn how to tie their shoes. And so it's going to be faster if I just tie the shoes for them. I don't need to sit
100%.
down and teach them. But then it's just a really difficult, I think, letting go, to your point, control, but also money. You're like, but I could do it faster and I could save $10,000 here and $10,000 there. I think that's a really difficult decision for most agents to make.
It is, because we are mostly trying to put food on the table, right? The average agent listening to this, I don't know who your listeners are, but the average agent anywhere is still doing less than 1 deal a month, significantly less, right? Which means you're just trying to put food on the table. And anytime you do that, I think the thing is, if it's belief, that person will be able to amplify, right? And believe in yourself that if I can get them up and efficient for 10 grand, for 15 grand, for 20 grand a year, will you, as the person that used to do all the busy work, now step up and go chase harder? Will you step up and be the marketer, the salesperson? But sometimes the busy work makes us feel like we're busy and we're worth it, so that you can tell your spouse at the end of the day you were busy all day, but you freaking went through emails all day
Yeah, you did
rather than
$10 an hour
chase
jobs.
business. And we all go through this. You hire somebody because you want to get buyback time, right? Dan Martell would say buyback time. But then do something with the time is the next level of pressure. Growth means it hurts a bit. So now you got to go out and do it. And a lot of us have hired people, saved a few hours, but then we don't do anything with the hours. And you're like,
Oh, now I can go to the
this is
mall.
not worth it. It's because probably
Right.
you are not doing the work
Right.
you did to the right.
So you hired the administrative person, but at what point did you feel like you should or could scale to more agents? And
Yeah,
how did that work?
So pretty quickly, again, it was early days, 2013. There was a big push for team back then, Kim. The coaching world around North America was heavily pushing team. It was a cool thing to coach, and it gave them a lot of things to coach. So a lot of us jumped into building teams right away, whether we were ready or not. I believe the right way to grow a team is when you got enough organic spillover opportunity that there's somebody that can be brought in to serve some of the needs that are slipping, like the on the ground buyer leads. Or say you have a listing flow of business, Kim, and you're like, I know I can do more with this listing, but there's only one of me. So I need to hit more doors. I need to host more open houses. There's one of me, but it's off of natural business. When you can organically bring on a few team members. So I brought on 3 right away, which was a mistake, because what I did is I went and bought Boomtown because I was coached to get one of these online lead platforms, spend $2,500, in my case US, which is like $4,000 Canadian, and just spend it and serve that up to agents. So it was a mistake, because I should have just done it more off of my organic business, which was there.
Right.
And I should have brought on 1 or 2 agents, but not 3 all of a sudden, and I have a huge budget to have to fund. And now I have to coach 3 or 4 people around a task that I've never done, like online lead gen, nurture, follow-up, learning CRM management. And I think a lot of people, team leaders, will do that really quickly because it's easy to look big because you've got a few
And then you're
bucks
having to
rub
pay for
together.
the leads to support the mouths of the people that you brought on and keep them happy. And
Then you get commission breath
Yes.
through your realtors.
yes,
Which is worse. Like you and I already get commission breath anyways, because you're like, sometimes you
Right.
feel a little bit like doubtful and you need to put food on the table. So you're going to get a little commission breath with your clients. But now you're doing it with everybody that your agents have. And now that you as a leader is looking through them as like money signs, and this turns you into a shitty realtor, a shitty leader.
I think so, yeah. Because also when the agents that you bring on, that you're having to, in a pressure wave, support them, or else they're not going to stay, and you train them up, and then if they're not happy enough or whatever.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I think that
So
it
I'm not against online lead gen for teams if
I'm
you're
not
ready
either,
and you've
no.
got the
If
infrastructure.
you're ready, yeah.
Right? I
But
wasn't.
when they're not following up on the right way that you might, then all of a sudden I'm just throwing money at
Yep.
something where they're cherry picking which they want to follow up with, and it can get really
I think there's a
tricky.
blend there, right? Like
Yeah.
organic overflow from your business as a team leader that is working, that you can just plug them into the missing things, and then also
Right.
sprinkle in some of this stuff, because you got to still teach them how to fish, and you have to bring some stuff in as a team leader to charge these 50%, right? So it's a blend of that, but just don't go all in this way and think all of a sudden I got a team and you can promise leads that we know it might take a long time to convert.
Right. So your group is called Redline, yeah?
Yeah, it was a brokerage. Redline Real Estate Group was the brokerage
Okay.
from 2009 all the way to 2021. It went
So
through
you serve
iteration.
both a role as a broker and team lead and production in production.
I thankfully have a 50-50 business partner, so I never had to play broker.
Oh, good.
So I was like chief bottle washer, he was broker. And my role was more like sales, marketing, where we're going. His was operations and really making sure we weren't in trouble. So 2013, when I took that coach on, he just stayed behind the scenes and played broker. I did all the team leadery things. It was my assistants, the marketing assistant, but because we also run property management and we had our own investments, so we just carved off of a yin and a yang that worked like that.
That's
So
nice. Plus you're
but when we came to Real, we shut down the brokerage, right? So I still played chief bottle washer or chief engagement officer for the company. He no longer had a broker role to play. So again, realigning his business was interesting too, because he didn't have that to play at Real, because Real's got
Which
their
took probably a
provisions.
bit of a headache off of his shoulders or
Big
off of
time.
his head or
Yeah, it was
whatever.
huge.
I guess a headache doesn't sit on the shoulders.
Big time. Big
But
time. Yeah.
So before you moved your brokerage over, you had already built up quite a few agents within your
Yes.
brokerage, yeah?
So we had a team-based brokerage, meaning be on my team, and 50-50 model from 2013 to 16. So Redline was an independent brokerage, 12 of us selling a home and a half a day. So we did well, like a top 5 sales team in the province or city. But then we shut the team down in 2017 because we wanted to serve a bigger group. We wanted to go after the big boys. We wanted to go out and chart a big growth curve. So we went from 12 to 105 in 3 years because we shut the team down but offered value that was higher than everybody else was offering, now at a brokerage cost structure, not a team cost structure.
So
And
the
it
agents
it
would
opened
come
the
in as
floodgate.
independent agents like you would at Keller
Yeah.
Williams or wherever.
Yeah. We had a few strong brand standard pieces that we kept, like a Sotheby's might do, but we offered tons of internal value from the marketing. So our agents really embraced our marketing, our look, our feel, our brand, and it really created the strength in numbers.
Well, that's
We
nice.
held on to it, even though we were little, but we said this is important to all agents because we want you to look and feel bigger than you are. And that's the strength of a cohesive brand, and not letting agents just water it down. And
That's
we held
cool.
that hard, and it worked. And we brought strong agents from Remax and all the big brands. And we grew all the way to 2021 when Real came to town. And we said we were at we think can't do any better than we're currently doing as an indie with these new models that were coming. And that was part of the decision for us, but also for our own agents, right?
So now your role is, are you focused on coaching or are you still in production or are you mostly coaching your
I'm
agents up?
very much. It's been about a year that I've been basically out of production for the first time. I'll still sell a home every other month just through friends and my more higher
Yeah.
end properties but pretty much out of production. So we have 100 agents, give or take, at Redline. We call ourselves a marketing group, and what it is, we do tons of coaching, one to many to the group. We do a lot of like private kind of guests on and teaching. Brett still offers literally broker level support, even though he's not the broker. We still have our marketing team for them. We've got a media studio, an office, and
That's
technology that
nice.
Real doesn't provide. So we still do all of these things, and we charge a light fee on it. And so I spend a lot of time waking up. How do I make them more productive? And how do I coach them? You're right. So mostly coaching. I do some private coaching. And then, of course, at Real, we spend a lot of time just giving back to the community and hosting things that are not just specific to Redline,
Right.
to the greater good.
And because I'm a part of it, but how did you wind up getting involved in Atlas Alliance, which is a mastermind for those listening that ever want to look into it? It's probably the most, I don't know, I think it's an amazing mastermind it's a very low cost
Yep.
for what you get out of it. And what I've really loved is how much, to what I said earlier, I can tell you're an amazing coach to your agents because you're an amazing coach in this mastermind program and you're one of the head coaches there. But how'd you get involved and get a little pitch on Atlas Alliance? Because I think it's an amazing
Yeah, it's a good
program.
question. Yeah, one of the agents that started it, Mike, was an agent here at my firm when we were in
Oh,
Indy years
right.
ago.
Okay.
This was 2000. So he had left Remax, came to Redline. I saw his early days, and then he took the opportunity to go to EXP because it just made the right fit for him years ago. But we always knew we'd try to do something again together, right?
Is he in Calgary as well?
He
Did you
is, yeah.
say that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. When in the XP's world, a lot of the value top leaders provide is to their own network only. It's somewhat siloed. But his draw was from a lot more people than just his silo. So he wanted to give to a larger agent body, and he came out with that Atlas. And then that was the opening to say maybe we can connect, because if you're willing to share stuff to a greater audience, then maybe I can come in and we can do this together, cross brand, right? Cross rev share lines, so you can break down all those walls. And how can we just give? And that's when I saw that unfold. We connected and allowed me to step in and do my part with the group.
Yeah, it's been great. I think it's a unique method that I think too many realtors, brokerages aren't trying to do, like a agnostic broker. It's just agents trying to build and get better, similar to a Tom Ferry type of scenario where it's brokerage agnostic. We're not trying to pitch or sell. And in fact, it's like a core value that you're not allowed to, which is really
100%.
nice. Nobody talks about where they are, who they are, and I don't really care. I'm just trying to always learn a little bit more. And you've been a huge coach and teacher in that. But is there on your weekly cadence of coaching with your agents, do you have method? Is there like tools and such that you recommend to agents on how to maybe get better at systems or leveling up from what?
Yeah, I think it's simpler than most people make, right? I really think there's two key habits that I think most agents, that I wish if I had everybody in my world follow these two habits, I know they would change the trajectory of their business. And one of them is, you and I have talked about, the Sunday planning ritual. Just some ritual that just gets it all the crazy out of your head and allows you to plan for the week ahead. And you're always referring to the goal, the lighthouse, the way marker, but what needs to get done this week, and just make sure it's in a plan, right? The second one that goes with that is, we know the plan never works, right? So we need a mechanism throughout the day, or a point that allows us to capture it. So I call it the daily wrap up. And it's where it's like the minutia of the day that likely didn't work out as perfectly as planned gets caught before we transition to dad, spouse, partner, whatever that is.
Right.
And you capture the DM that came in randomly, the phone call and the voicemail, the email that came at you that the deal's fallen apart, whatever that is, and you capture it for 15, 20 minutes and then sort it. Hit it, does it delete it, or book it, right, for something next. And you imagine a Sunday ritual where you've thought through what happened and plan it out, knowing that shit's going to go wrong.
Right.
The daily wrap-up catches is the middle. You also ask yourself what went right. And then, why did it go right? Oh, you know what? That time block, Kim, for your prospecting actually worked out for these last 3 days because you put it at 11 before you started going to the gym. Whatever it is, we're all different. Right. And you can imagine, all of a sudden you could just see, if you did that week after week, how far further ahead you'd be. Now, this exact process is one I follow, and I've been running it since 2013. So I'm 12 years with a quick Sunday plan to the bigger plan, reverse engineering what's important, and then doing these quick wrap-ups so that I'm iterating all the time, and it's just mechanical now, right? And you can just imagine the things that can get achieved. So that's one. The second one, though, is just basic CRM commitment, right? Where it's just, again, in the time blocking, is this your holy Bible, right? Or is it not? It's one of the two. Right. You either do it every day, meaning all notes, all updates, all schedules, all reminders, all things go here. Or you're like most agents and you've got a notebook and a phone and a DM message. And guess what? You're one of two. There's no in between. So the agents that are booked into their CRM and they follow their plan, again, it's as simple as those two practices that just, they'll crush this business. They make it simpler as it goes, which is really cool. Which is also scalable and trainable. When you do earn the right to have a team, if you do it, you can put these best practices into place, and they're not overwhelming. The biggest overwhelm is just learning the CRM that you choose. Just the basic functions, and not functions that don't matter to where your business is at. Because a new piece of tech comes out, and an agent has no idea why they're getting the tech. They haven't even figured out the CRM. I know I need it, but what am I doing it for, Kimberly? And then you're like, how do I automate an email? So, do you do that today? And the answer is no most of the time. Or, do you track birthdays? No, but like, I need, whatever that is, it becomes a few steps that get put into practice. And you might use 2% of the CRM's capabilities, but at least you're using it every time. Mm-hmm. And that's how I see agents they say, oh, this is too clunky. I'm like, because you're looking too far. You're looking at a business model that you don't deploy today and you're not ready for. So when it comes to creating a 7-series automated message with videos online into BombBomb integration to a lead form, that's when you need to care about all that. You know what I mean?
Right. It's kind of like the gym. Like you if you get overwhelmed because there's too many machines, just focus on 3 moves and get really good at those, and then go to the next thing, you know.
I agree.
But you got to go consistently, otherwise you can watch YouTube videos all day long on how to get strong abs, but if you don't get off your couch to go there, then it doesn't matter. And the same thing with CRM.
You'll see agents in Atlas, for instance, that will show up every Monday, and they'll take in the new knowledge, and then they'll just keep being there. It's like, it's exciting, right? But then 2 years from now, they will have not changed their business one bit, because they hadn't put any practice, they hadn't taken the time, they didn't find out what's more important, and just chunk it down and go. And you'll see agents that will take a little action and then start to snowball it ahead. And all of a sudden, those same 2 people hearing the same message 12 months from now are completely different. One has AI running built into their practices with the CRM that's going, with full set of unlisted videos, YouTube channel rocking. And the other is, I know all this stuff, but I didn't do any of it. And it's sad. It's sad because there's all the info we've ever needed is out there. It wasn't when you and I started.
What do you tell your agents that are stuck in a place where it's every year I keep hitting this number, I know I'm capable of more? What's your coaching advice on going from here to that next level? Is it focusing on the CRM or focusing on the 2 habits?
For one, we got to figure out if they've got any that's working, right? Because if their habit is somewhat okay, then I don't have to impart mine on it. But it would be impossible to expect, if somebody did have a daily CRM practice today but didn't have it yesterday, that their business doesn't get better. You know what I mean? It'd be one of those unfair expectations. It's kind of like if you go to the gym and actually lift weights, your biceps do get bigger. It's inevitable. So I think I would go one step further. So they're stuck, they're plateaued. The goal, we have to reverse engineer this a little bit. We have to figure out, where does the business come from? What practices do they do to create it? What is currently running that does work? And what is time spent that is doing nothing for you? And then you attack it, like, what's the low-hanging fruit? And it might be just dialing up the one thing a little bit more, rather than getting busy in this mastermind group that you shouldn't be a part in, because you're not a video creator, but yet you crush open houses and community farming, but you only spend 1% of your day on it, when you're spending 99% on something you never take any ROI off of. So yeah, it's a little bit of that kind of. I like to go and find the low-hanging fruit. I like to strip the business down. I like to go into what's working and amplify it first, and then go from there. Most of the people I get to coach privately, their business gets simpler. The pedal gets pushed down more. And then they love the business more.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't feel as scattered. It becomes easier. And then what happens is they can actually utilize today's technology a little bit more, because they've got headspace.
That's a good
right?
point. Yeah,
Or their
that
social
makes
media
total
gets
sense.
better, right? They're like, I'm not a social creature, but now I can actually learn what it takes to work on today's Instagram Reels algorithm, or how to be better on YouTube, or because you've stripped it down to a point where they're ready to take it, rather than just throw it at them because they think it's the latest, greatest thing. Or
makes
you
total
strip away their
sense.
community farming. Some of them, you strip away a traditional means that they're just half-assed going through. I use the term spraying and praying. You're just mass marketing without follow-up. And maybe that's what you just need to let go of. The bus
And
bench.
that's so easy to fall flat or fall prey to as a realtor, because something new comes up every day.
Totally.
So much comes out where I think about the tens of thousands of dollars that I've wasted on the next best thing.
Yep.
It's hard.
I've tried recently, because so much of what I coach is built into my Redline army, and I've spent so many years into it, where that's why I have my podcast, is just to try to clear a few thoughts to a mass audience, to say, if somebody was willing to chunk it down with me and understand there is a process and simpler is probably better, then that's a lot of what I talk about on my show. And I give people a few kind of takeaways. So and it's just all open for free, and it's a lot of fun
Your
to
show
share.
is like free coaching. What's the name of it again? For
It's called the
those that are hearing?
ReEducation experience.
ReEducation experience. So
Yeah.
you were all in on it for a bit, and then you took a little bit of a break, and then you since brought it back. Is that the way it was?
Yeah, I don't think I was all in though. I was doing it. Back to everything we've been talking about, right? Like I did 83 episodes with random guests, like every other podcast. Not truly intentional, but I did learn a lot. I learned how to interview. I got better at it. I wanted to get my voice out there. And then I did pause because I was bored of my own voice. And downloads were actually increasing, which was fun, but I just had to like pause because I wasn't enjoying it. And I didn't know if I was going to restart it. I didn't know if 83 was it. And I had to ego-wise be like, I guess I'm not releasing anymore. And that might look bad to my realtor friends, or but I'm like, I'm not putting my all into this, so I had to stop. And that was December 2024. And then it took 3.5 months to say I'm going to do it again. Now, that was all an extra. This was not needed for my business. This is all like a passion project,
Right.
Kim. All right. So if we parallel it to an agent's business, you might pause something, but for a shorter period of time potentially, and really figure your shit out. But yeah, I restarted it in about April. But this
I think that your new approach is you're more about the heartfelt coaching, which I think that's what
I wanted to
the
bring
world of
people through a
agents
journey.
need. I started this podcast just because I enjoy podcasting. I had one for many years ago, but I want to introduce to the world unique ways in which agents are scaling their business or crushing it in their business. However, because to your point of what you researched, some of the top teams they don't have much of a presence, but there are so many agents that are doing really unique ways of growing and scaling, and we can all find our way or our voice. You've got a skill and a talent in the coaching, the organized, very calm thought process. That's nothing that I have, but I'm good at coaching for other reasons. But I think that we all have our skills, and like I said, folks that are crushing it in events or social media or any of those things, it's really interesting. I think it's good to expose to the world, but I think your podcast is really a value to agents that are trying to just know the ways that you can maybe get to that next space or place that they don't know how to do it. It's interesting how many brokerages, because when I first got licensed, we would have the weekly meeting and it would be a mini coaching. That stuff doesn't happen anymore. So it's a very lonely business for a lot of agents. And to learn how to get better and be better is really sometimes very hard.
Yeah, it's like I created an ebook once. There was 261 ways to get your next client. And it was every single lead gen way I thought I could figure out. And then I reversed it down to saying, where is most of the money being made? And then there was 15, right? So top 15 lead sources. I'm going to release that here shortly on the podcast, but there's so many different ways to build this business. And if you said like you're really good at open houses, but you wanted to do a twist on it with the modern touches, there's really cool ways today to amplify a core strength that Kim has. And until you do things like podcasting or search out and finding people, you're like, how do you amplify the traditional medium of a podcast, of an open house? But there's ways, right? And you might love it. And then there's other ways to put twists on tradition, which is super cool to hear. But I think a lot of people, they need the base thing running first and then add the amplification, then add fuel to the fire.
Darren, I enjoyed talking to you always, but I'm going to end with the question I ask everyone. If you had to move tomorrow, let's say you're going to move to the United States, not Canada.
Yeah, there you go.
To a city that you don't know anybody, you don't have any of your real estate team. What would be the first thing you do on day one of being licensed in a new space where you don't have a sphere, you don't have a friend, you don't have an agent, but you're starting from scratch?
That's a good question, actually. And I've said this before in other things without people asking, but I actually believe farming your own community is probably the fastest path to success, because most farm community agents are quite lazy. They spray and pray. They just shoot flyers, or what once they used to do to gain the traction, they have now automated and set back hoping for the come list me calls. So I would parachute into wherever I was living and I would go build that relationship, because you can become a community expert by just knowing the info and then being the messenger of it to building people that you can relate to, which have a vested interest like you because you're a community resident. To be honest, I would go hardcore, old school, traditional, on the ground, and I would build out, and you wouldn't even see me coming. And all of a sudden, in 18 months, I would be top producer in that community. And because it would be a grassroots campaign, taking advantage of very likely the lazy top bus bench agent.
That's true. People don't do boots on the ground as much as anymore, so you'd have a huge advantage, I think.
I would also, with that, I would buddy up to the top agent in the brokerage I chose. And then when they sell things, they don't have time to typically monetize it.
True.
So I would be so close to them that I can say and do anything I could to just lean close, without being on their team, to support them probably, and just say, how are you going to market this sale? This is really awesome. And then I would go and use that as a catalyst for conversations. Because again, as a new agent, your whole goal is conversations, but can you be in nice, warm ones that are relevant to a community? It'd be one of those two things, and I think it would take no time. It takes hustle, though. Yeah.
It does take hustle, but I love it. Thank you so much, Darren, for your time. I really appreciate it. And
yeah, it was a pleasure. Yeah. Hopefully it helped the audience, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, Darren, so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Rewriting Real Estate. If today's episode challenged your thinking or gave you a strategy worth trying, share it. The right move at the right time can change everything. Subscribe and listen in next week for more insight, more momentum, and more ways to grow your business your way.